Hi again, this is Jing with the Bali Business Review, and today I'm in Kuta. Not the Kuta in Bali, but the Kuta here in Lombok. Quite a difference, as you can see. Based on recent observations and flight patterns, I've noticed that there are more travelers planning to go to Lombok. So I've come here on the ground to find out for ourselves whether or not this is true. We're going to be going on the street and in the skies to look for evidence of a growing economy. We're going to be talking to travelers, we're going to be looking at proxy indicators, we're going to be giving you the full details on whether or not Lombok is a travel-worthy and an investment-worthy destination, and whether or not it actually poses a threat to what's happening in Bali, and whether or not you should come for a visit or come to invest. Well, let's go around and find out what we can see in Lombok and give you the best picture on the ground with this episode of Market Insights. Come with me and find out more. I want to show you something. Check this out. So a few days ago, I saw that the Lombok International Airport. The Lombok International Airport was getting more flights this year than last year. Significantly more flights, 2026 versus 2025 and 2024. So airport movements in Lombok are rising. So let's go to Lombok and see what's happening.
Bali gridlock in the rear view, zip the sleeve. Data points are waiting in the next degree. Jing Cho Yang on the move, no room for the slow. Lombok calling out, got the signal to go. Review the metrics, check the frame twice. Bali business rhythm, keeping it concise. Transitioning the map, changing the tide.
So how much of a threat is Lombok to Bali? For many years I've put Lombok aside and didn't think too much about it, but I was astonished upon first arrival here and seeing how active and busy this place is. And when you get to a certain location, you feel the energy and the dynamism and the willingness to be an entrepreneur. I think there's going to be a lot of comparisons drawn between the attractiveness of Lombok as a primary destination for a Southeast Asia trip versus Bali as a destination for a Southeast Asia trip. Now, certainly for the beach experience, if Uluwatu, Malasti, Pandawa in Bali at the moment are the most attractive beach options, as we've observed from previous episodes of the Bali Business Review, then the quality of beaches here is at a higher grade than any of those options. The main reason I can see that is if you really love beaches and the idea of being on a desolate beach with a coconut, just watching kind of like the waters and doing nothing, then you have dozens of excellent options to choose from within a 1 hour trip from each other. So this entire southern coastline, I mean, I don't know if God could have designed this better. It's just scalloped beach after other scalloped beach after another scalloped beach after another one, and each beach is postcard perfect. They've got beautiful headlands and hillsides along each end of the beach. They have flat area. If you were thinking about developing real estate and thinking about how to maximize the total value based on this geography, it's immense. You can have ocean view villas along each of the headlands. You can have flat villas along the back. You can even have ocean view villas along the mountain ranges behind these bays too as well. It just offers so much value to anybody who is thinking about, let's say, planning on real estate development or planning on having a holiday here and getting a great experience. So the other real threat to Bali from Lombok is the availability of infrastructure. So most of the infrastructure is currently underutilized. There's far too much infrastructure and not enough people using it. But if Lombok really takes off, availability of this infrastructure in place, which would lead to explosive and growth far surpassing Bali. Yeah, I think that's definitely possible if the spark gets kind of going. Now here's the irony. Ironically, the worst part of the beach, which is the part of the beach that's cloudy and looks really dirty and not really swimmable, that's the side of the beach that everybody is on. And the side of the beach that's planned, really good looking, really set up correctly, that's the side of the beach that's empty right now. I mean, unless you count these tourists going around on these electric bikes, the target audience here. But the key as an infrastructure development planner is to bring a culture in which entrepreneurs from all over the world will want to come, and they will get guests for you. So yeah, learn how to be a professional landlord. Okay, here's a quick shout out to our own company, BukitVista. If you are a property owner and you seek to get a valuation for how much your property is worth in these uncertain times, go to our landing page, put in your details, and we'll send you a free valuation report based on estimates of discounted cash flow value. On the Mandalika side, it looks like a really large failed project. So what you see now is excellent infrastructure, roads that are premium, A grade, good roundabouts, but over provisioning of infrastructure for a circumstance that never happened. Clearly, you don't build roads like this and wide berths to just have a place where people are racing bikes now, like you see over there. So there's a guy over there who's harvesting some hay, right, for his cows. But the essence that you get from being here is that it didn't work. This concrete batching machine behind me, batching plant behind me, is I guess it's a relic left over from when there was greater ambitions. This is a common thing I see in Mandalika. They were planning on probably building a lot of buildings here. That's why they installed this concrete batching plant here. But from the way it looks right now, there's not much concrete that needs to be batched, considering how empty the place is. And here are some of the historical relics left over from misguided enthusiasm. What you'll find is these little kind of tiny points where I guess some people who have already found out that you can see a sunset will pay to see a sunset, like this place over here, Josie Sunset. So basically it's right next to a fishing village, and as you kind of approach it, it's a small hill. Strangely enough, it's actually a pretty good idea. So what I guess the problem with this southern coast is, on sunset we're always facing south, but these entrepreneurs have figured out a way to attract people from what seems to be all the way in Kuta to come all the way out here for sunset to, and pay for it, which is kind of like a hack, actually, I have to admit. Look at this. Like a bunch of people paying for parking to go on this hill to see the sunset. Which kind of goes to show how early days the opportunities are for Lombok, because if you can just announce that you're doing sunsets on a hill and there's like 100 hills out here, then yeah, you're in for something. ChatGPT recommended this place.
Yeah,
do you know what you actually asked ChatGPT?
Yeah,
the query?
where's a good place for watching the sunset?
Okay, so that's a pretty important thing to write down if you're starting a business in Lombok. How long have you been traveling, and what have you been using to find your way?
So it's 5 months now.
Uh-huh.
I'm from Germany. I quit my job and then I came here. And yeah, I always ask ChatGPT to figure out the best spots for the sunset.
Okay.
It's a good age to travel because you can get along with everybody.
Yes.
From 20 till 70. It's really it's better than with 20 because then you're still more kid,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And you're solo traveling, I take it, yeah?
Right.
Okay, all right, interesting. That's another leading demographic. More people are feeling comfortable traveling alone too as well. Okay, all right, cool. Overall feeling that I get when I'm here in Lombok is that it's still very much like a boomtown. So being such like a boomtown, I think it's really important to think about what is the user journey, what is the itinerary. So having spent almost 5 days here in the South Coast, what I see is this seems to be the journey. People come to Kuta as basically the main base. It's where the widest and most diverse set of accommodations are actually being built. So that's kind of interesting. But basically, Kuta serves as mainly the hub of all trips. It seems like everybody arrives to Kuta and they leave from Kuta. I guess this is a central business district and central tourism district. So what you see real estate offices, you see developer offices, you see a whole range of food and beverage options that are kind of busy in the morning and also in the evening, you need a motorbike because this is very much a frontier area, such that if you were, it's like your horse, right? So you're sort of taking your motorbike in the morning and you're going to explore and beach hop all the way along the west. Now, once you get to these beaches, there's so much of it. There's like just so much space to spread out on, so much surface area. There's about a dozen beaches each, between 1 to 2 kilometers long. My final takeaway is this. I find it impossible now to ignore Lombok. It's impossible because it's sort of like a keg of dynamite, right? It's a keg of dynamite that's just standing there, and it probably just takes a spark and the whole thing will take off because it has the potential to have massive expansion. What I'm guessing right now is inhibiting the growth of Lombok is actually what inhibited the growth of every area in Bali before we at BukitVista introduced it. It's dynamic pricing. So at this point, what I'm seeing is the ability to imagine the correct price for each day of the year is still somewhat limited. So you don't see, let's say, the correct product market fit yet for dates to travel demand. But that being said, I think it's probably because there just hasn't been as fast of expansion of supply here as demand. But I think as soon as that happens, and Lombok will probably have to go through a few of these. Lombok will probably need its own price war. And you're probably thinking, why would I want a price war here? But it's an inevitable part of the transition process from going from a slow moving to a fast moving economy. Because when you really drop the prices down, you start attracting a lot of people to want to come here. And it takes, in general, I think about 10 to 20 budget travelers to attract one luxury traveler. And the reason luxury travelers move slower is because they have more to risk. They don't want to end up going to a location that sucks. So yes, Kuta itself will probably never raise itself beyond its current status as a kind of a town hub. But once Lombok as a concept has been proved with millions of reviews, yeah, it's going to be a far better value than going to Canggu for sure. It's going to be a far better value than going to Kuta for sure in Bali. So yeah, that's kind of what I see up ahead.